Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We've had, I think, about 150 people register. I'm really not expecting them all to turn up live because, you often register for webinars, don't you, and then get the recording. And the recording will be sent out to you. It won't necessarily be today, it won't be an immediate one because we like to do a bit of an edit job on it first. But the recording and the notes will come out to you. Now, sorry, let me just start again. My colleague Natalie is just in the background here. So if you've got any questions while we go through, please pop them into the chat thread. I'd rather that than the Q&A thread because we tend to get them lost if we're having to monitor both threads. I will take questions right at the end. Natalie will interrupt me if she thinks there's a particularly appropriate question, kind of mid blurb, if you like. But let's get on with this. So hopefully you can see my screen. So we're talking about how to get ahead in marketing. I wanted to just share some very practical advice as an employer and as a recruiter of marketers. And I wanted to share that practical advice for you guys as undergrads because we often would get applications from undergrads or postgrads or people that have just finished a master's, and I was like, oh my word, I've got so many things to say to you. So I thought I would just put that all into a webinar for you. So just to introduce myself first, I'm the marketing manager at CareLineLive. So we're a home care software company. So we're in that kind of health tech space. I was previously I ran a digital marketing consultancy called the Digitarati, and that has a training company alongside it. So I did that for a number of years. I've run a couple of e-commerce businesses as well. I've had one of those classic sort of portfolio careers for years and years. Done lots of work with different marketing agencies. Before I was at CareLineLive, I did a couple of years of stints as a kind of director level marketing agencies. I've lectured in digital marketing at a couple of universities, Manchester Met, where I did my own master's. So I lectured on the master's programme there, and also at Hertfordshire, which was kind of my local uni when I used to live in that area. I've also taught Institute of Marketing courses. I've examined for the Institute of Marketing as well, done lots of hands-on training and conference speaking too. I did my master's as a mature student, so that was like 10, 12 years ago now. And I got a first in that. It was tough getting a first in those days at that particular university, as I'm sure it is now, because the standard is extremely high. And the difference with my master's is that everyone that was on that course was already working in industry. It was designed as a part-time course for people that already had quite a lot of experience. So we learned loads from each other, as well as the kind of academic input. So that's enough about me. Please do connect with me on LinkedIn if you haven't already. I know a number of people have. So as I said, I wanted to just share with you my experience of someone that recruits to a marketing team. I'm just going to move my little screen thingy here because I want to be able to look at. Let me just see. I'm looking. Okay, good. I want to be able to look at you as well as look at my slides. Cool. All right. So the last time I was recruiting, I was inundated with applications for people that had qualifications as high as a master's in marketing. They looked like great qualifications, but the two people I actually recruited had no relevant qualifications in marketing whatsoever. So why was that? Well, the summary really is that they had the right experience, and that trumped academic achievements. And they just felt like their attitude, their chemistry, they were local, they were available, and it just the whole picture of what I got from them, despite their lack of qualifications, was right. And one of those people was Natalie, who's in the back of this call now. So I was recruiting the people that had experience of doing marketing rather than simply studying it. Now, I know that's really tough for you to hear if all you've done is study marketing. So I want to unpack today a little bit of what you can do if you lack that experience, but you want to go and get a job. What could you do that will mean that I look to recruit you rather than, someone that's had 2 or 3 jobs under their belt? So what I'd say is recruiters are way more interested in how, for instance, you put a social media campaign together than whether you understand the intricacies of Ansoff's matrix or Porter's 5 forces or whatever else. Now, I know that stuff inside out because I've studied it, I've examined it, I've taught it, and it's super useful for putting strategy together. But, you as undergrads, postgrads, are not probably going to have to be writing marketing strategy. You're going to be doing the dirty tactics, and so your experience in doing them is really useful. Just a little bit about CareLineLive. So as I said, we're a health tech company. So we work for people that provide domiciliary or home care services. So for elderly and disabled and other people that need to be looked after at home rather than a care home or in hospital, we provide the software that helps organise their care planning, the rostering around for those teams and that kind of thing. We've met a number of criteria in our software, the NHS England DSCR assured supplier status. There's a whole lot of acronyms here as well as in marketing. We've been founded in the UK, we've developed in the UK, and we now work in Australia and various other countries as well, but our developers are UK based. So there's 3 aspects to our software. There's a management platform, there's an app for people that are providing care for people, and then there's a communications portal for friends and families of the people that are using services. So as marketers, you'll know that it's really important to have a USP, unique selling proposition. And ours are as follows. We're very, very much customer focused. So we don't just say that, we really deliver it. We demonstrate that by being the highest rated home care software system on Trustpilot. We are the only one in the UK that is rated as excellent. Our current score is 4.8. It looks like with a couple more nice reviews, we may well be going up to 4.9. And we demonstrate it because we actually answer the phone, and we are humans that are dealing with the humans that are using our software. So we had a story yesterday of one of our salespeople was at an event, and some managing director of a customer of ours came up and said, "Your support is rubbish." And she was like, "I'm really surprised at that because we're really good at answering the phone and talking to people and helping them. Tell you what, shall we put it to the test? Where's your phone?" She phoned the customer support line and it was answered in 10 seconds and any issues were dealt with. So, maybe there's a bit of a disconnect between the MD there and what's actually happening on the ground. We also, our system is very much a single price, transparent fee. It's very kind of fair, and we don't try and tangle people up in long contracts and that kind of thing. So we make a big thing of that in terms of marketing. So, just giving you a little bit of insider information there from a sort of marketing perspective of how we put our messaging together for prospects. So marketing today. So I first started marketing before the internet, before email, before social media. And it was really quite straightforward. You did some market research, you did direct mail, you did brochures, you did some events. There was none of the digital kind of profiles of people in roles in marketing as there are today. So it's changed enormously. And you guys, I guess the majority of you are digital natives. So you're brilliantly positioned to understand this in a very intuitive way, which was not something, because I wrote my university dissertation back in the late 80s, early 90s on a computer, and I was the only person in my university that was using a computer to type my stuff up. So that's sort of how far ago that was for me. So I'm not a digital native, but I have studied this and tried to live and breathe it in the last few decades. So what's the breadth here? We've got digital, we've got brand, we've got content, we've got PR, we've got SEO, and of course we've got AI SEO now, we've got analytics, we've got social media. There are so many roles, there are so many things to do. Now, you'll find that quite often you will be applying for jobs where you're perhaps going into a fairly small company and you are expected, you're the marketing person, you're expected to be the expert in all of these things. And I would say that You're often a mile wide and an inch deep. Listen to me speaking in old money here. A kilometre wide and a centimetre deep in all of these things. So you may decide that you want to go deep on one area, for instance, SEO or content or social media. But often you'll find that jobs are needing someone that's really, really broad. And even though, I mean, I'm running a marketing team now, and we have someone that's very specialist in social media. We have someone else that does a lot more events planning. We have someone else that does, other bits and pieces. So I've got specialties within that, but oh my word, we all can jump into each other's areas as we need to. So I think as an employer, I'm looking for an aptitude across a lot of specialties. I'm looking for you to be adaptable across those and to be hungry to learn. I'm looking for creativity, because marketers need creativity. Yes, ChatGPT can really help us be creative, but if you can get under the skin of what's going on in your sector and come up with fun strategies and approaches and tactics, you will do well. And we're also looking for people that have an eye on the end goal. So, with most of us working in a commercial sector, we have sales leads that we've got to deliver. We have sales, conversions we have to deliver. It's not like we're all working, I don't know, in say a public sector thing where it's much more about communication. We're often having to sell things. So what are the results going to be? So I'm going to share our little Clive campaign with you in a bit. But when I was coming up with the Clive campaign, I put together a business proposal which said, it's going to cost this much. These are the objectives. This is what I think we're going to deliver. This is how much business I think we're going to run as a result. So the summary here is that the theories and qualifications you may get can be useful, but being able to execute them across a range of disciplines is crucial. So right now, if I was going to be recruiting today, what would impress me? If you're working within social media or on websites, having a good understanding of the way that video works and being able to just turn your hand to being able to do some video production is crucial. Now, there are plenty of software platforms out there that will help you with video editing. We use Camtasia, which is super simple. There's obviously, you've got the Apple iMovie platform. You can do stuff on Instagram, you can do stuff on YouTube, and all the way up to Final Cut Pro and Adobe, and the bigger, more professional programs. But if you've got some experience of being able to do video editing, and wouldn't be freaked out if I said to you, right, that's a great idea, that individual image and some copy, but I'd like you to turn that into something that's moving, that we can use as a reel, as a piece of video. That's going to be some big ticks for me. You'll often find as juniors, you will be put in charge of running social media. Now, you may not be doing the big picture of the campaign planning, but you'll often be the one that's making those social posts live. And that will be the case in a small company, and as well if you're working with an agency. So when I've worked with PR agencies, it's often the juniors that are doing a lot of the social media. So what's going to impress me if you're coming for a job as a junior in that? Well, I want to see some of the social media you've actually run, whether that's for in a voluntary basis or, some club or whatever that you have been working with. I want you to show me that you understand the difference between reels and stories. How long is the optimum length for a reel? What's the maximum length for video that you're doing? What are the size specifications? Can you get your hands on that information quickly if you haven't got it in your minds? And then the differences between social media platforms. So we're not putting the same thing out on Instagram as we are on LinkedIn, as we are on TikTok. How would you differentiate in terms of copy and content? And obviously this is going to be different if you're working B2B as B2C, and it'll be different depending on which industry verticals you're working in as well. So we talk about ChatGPT in our little team as being the kind of additional member of the marketing team. And I reckon without using ChatGPT and, you know, the other AI platforms, I probably need to find one other quite experienced full-time member of staff. So what I'm looking for in someone applying for a job for me is being able to use ChatGPT, but not make it obvious that you've used ChatGPT. So things like that big double hyphen, it's called an M space, that chat uses a lot. Take them out, take the Americanisms out. You know, the stuff that just immediately makes it look very, you know, AI driven. And if you're working in a B2B context, you need to get the tone right as well. And chat is not, you know, if it's writing social media posts for you, it's often quite buddy-like and maybe not quite the right professional tone for a B2B setting. So, you know, show me that you can use it, not just to write social media copy, but maybe to help you brainstorm campaign ideas or do research into a particular problem. You know, think about different use cases that you could use it for. The other thing that I have been getting very into in the last few months out of necessity is understanding generative AI or AI search. I think we're still working out what we actually call this. So, you know, having an understanding of search engine optimization, you know, what keywords mean, how you should deploy them, how you're going to get yourself up on Google, how Google Business Profile works, but also understanding how you can get cited by AI search. What are the crucial things for that? Now, I've actually done some video on that. It was a webinar which we've recorded, which is on our YouTube channel. So if you want to have a little bit of an insider look at my take on AI search, then do take a look at that. Natalie will probably pop a link to that in the chat thread for you. Okay, so
Mary, can I interrupt you for a quick minute? Just back to the videos. Harry Taylor asked a question, which is, how would you recommend displaying prowess in video editing to an employer rather than just proficient in Premiere Pro on a CV?
Great question, and I'm glad that you mentioned Premiere Pro, because I was scratching around thinking, what is that? What is that, Adobe? I would create a show reel and upload that to YouTube, and then just put a link to that into your CV. If other people have got any other ideas or suggestions, please put them through. But you know, I'd be looking at a CV or looking at a LinkedIn profile, so I just want to be able to click and see that there. Thanks for the interruption, Natalie. So what am I looking for in terms of, you know, beyond sort of ability and experience? Well, in marketing, you generally have to juggle lots and lots of different projects at once. So demonstrate that to me. I remember I went to a job interview back in early 90s with Sheila McKechnie, who was at the time heading up Shelter. And she said, can you demonstrate to me that you can cope under pressure? And I just came up with, well, my final year at university, I got a 2-1. I was holding down a part-time job at London Weekend Television, and I had a baby, and I got my degree finished on time. You know, so she was like, oh, wow, yeah, you can handle pressure, you know. So it doesn't necessarily need to be all about work, but something that's appropriate that, you know, perhaps sticks in the mind. You need attention to detail. Your staff, as in the wider organisation, will be brutal when they find typos. And Natalie and I know to our horror that when we have a single spelling mistake, when we have an apostrophe in the wrong place, you know, particularly if we spelled someone's name wrong, we will get it in stereo from people in the organisation giving us grief. Oh, you've got the spelling wrong. And you get so close to this stuff that you don't see it. And sometimes it goes through 3 of us in a check process, and we've still got a typo in there. So, you know, that attention to detail is crucial. I'm looking for people that are super creative, that come up with ideas. I don't want to be the one as the head of marketing that is pushing all the creativity from me. I want that to come from my team. Marketing generally requires being good with people. That doesn't mean to say that you've got to be the most empathetic, touchy-feely person in the world. I'm not. But I can relate to people. I'm quite good at shooting from the hip in terms of chatting. I'm good at getting stuff out of people. I have that journalist kind of nose for a story, and that could well be from different departments. And you'll be working a lot with external agencies and other stakeholders. Outside of sales, probably you're working with more external people that are non-customers than any other department. And obviously your customer support team will be working with customers, and you want to get in there as well and understand stuff from the customer perspective. So you do want to be good with people. And if that's not your natural prowess, you can certainly learn to, improve on your natural, perhaps, shyness, or, English being a second language. I mean, Natalie, when she first went to Australia, where she lived for a while, she's French, and she had very little English, but I don't even think of Natalie being French now. I don't think of her language as being a barrier at all. She understands the colloquialisms and things because she's worked at it, and she's my #1 proofreader in the company, despite English being her second language. So you can do it. Copywriting, marketing generally needs to do a lot of copywriting. My first job I got at London Week and Television, working in their press office. My degree was in photography, so I was just doing some admin in relation to their photo archives. And I was working with a team that needed to write quite a lot of marketing copy for brochures. The guy I was working with wasn't that good at copywriting, and I quite liked it. So I would sit and help him do that. And by the time I left that role, I was a good copywriter. Nowadays, of course, AI will really help you with copywriting. So use it, learn it, make sure it learns the voice that you need as well. You need to be good at proofreading. And you need to be able to follow the corporate tone and style guidelines well. So my bugbears are things like using ampersands rather than a full and. I tend to follow the BBC guide in terms of we don't have full stops at the end of bullet points. We don't have random capitalizations. So you see my title here, Marketing Today. I haven't put a capital T on that. I don't mind if you decide you do as an organisation, but you need to be consistent across that. And you will find that apart from your marketing team, everyone in the organisation will be randomly putting capital letters in everything, and you will need to take that out so you have a really consistent visual and brand voice. And then finally, I'm looking for people to be really adept at embracing and fully utilising the technologies that are offered to them. Now, in a little bit, I'm going to go through a tech stack with you so you can understand the kind of software that I'm talking about. But the marketing team in particular, I kind of want to be able to say to you, okay, you haven't ever used Canva before, but I need you to learn how to use it and come up with some design ideas on Canva. Now, that's quite an easy example. You may well find that you have to be using HubSpot or one of the other more complex CRM programs. You don't necessarily, as a student, need to understand the detail of that, but you want to be with open arms, embrace learning it when you get into the company. So say, as digital natives, these will be a lot easier for you than perhaps people that are not.
Marie, just another quick question from Alicia. Would you display the use of AI well in a CV?
Oh, that is a really good question, Alicia. I think I would be careful because some companies are still, and some marketers are still being very, we don't use AI, but I think if you are adept at it, it is a skill I probably want to see. So see if you can kind of suss out what the company is looking for. If they've not mentioned it at all, you might want to be a bit circumspect on it. If they've mentioned it, you absolutely want to be showing it and showing your creative use of it, not just. So for instance, at the moment, I'm asking ChatGPT to research for me the corporate email addresses of all the care commissioners in the UK in local government. It's a massive piece of work. It's taking ChatGPT days to do this for me. And obviously it can't, because of GDPR, it can't give me personal email addresses, but it can give me the kind of sales commissioners at, whatever local authority area it is. So now that has saved us a small fortune in data scraping fees from a lead generation agency, or us manually needing to do that. So that's a nice creative use of using AI. Okay, so while I've been talking, you've probably had a quick look through this slide. I'm not going to go through this in a lot of detail, but I wanted to share it. So just to give you an idea of the size of our company, we're 60 members of staff, turning over £4+ million. So the channels that we are working with are very, very broad. Half of our leads come from telesales. So marketing and sales are working very closely, together with each other. There's just someone in the lobby. Let me just let them in. Oh, there we go. Natalie's done it. And the rest of our leads really come from the rest of these tactics. We do a lot of events, from big kind of NEC type shows to little care association shows where we'd have a little tabletop in a town hall, and there'll be people coming to talk to the care providers that are there. So we're doing a lot of those events every year. The other key thing for us is content marketing. So if you take a look at our blog, you'll find lots and lots of content on there, which we are repurposing on social media. We're repurposing into email marketing. And of course, because we've got content on there, that's helping serve our search engine optimization, and it's helping serve our AI search. One of our most trafficked pages is an article I wrote after a year in the job, going something like, we're just like Avis, the car hire company, because we're number 2, but we try harder. Now, if you've done any kind of marketing case studies over the years, you'll probably be familiar with the Avis campaign. And this is back from, I don't know, 70s or something. And they were number 2 to, I think, Hertz. And they were like, we're number 2, but we try harder, so our customer support is better. And that chimed very well with CareLineLive. So I wrote this article about that and just reflected on a year in the job and everything. And it's a really high traffic term. And if you look up Avis, we try harder, you'll probably find CareLineLive in those search results, bizarrely. I mean, not doing us an awful lot of good in terms of our key search words that we actually want to get people coming to us from, which is like home care software options. But yeah, just a nice example of how content marketing can really help with your SEO. I'm not going to talk through any more detail of some of that yet, although there will be some other things that I talk about in a moment. Okay, so here is Clive. Clive is our digital dinosaur. So he's a little plush toy. I've got him somewhere around the place, but anyway, you've got a picture of him there. And we came up with the concept of Clive. And Clive is a bit naff, isn't it, as a name? And it's funny and cute. And if you look carefully, it's short for CareLineLive. So that was clever. And we created this little plushie, which is a dinosaur, because a lot of our customers say to us, oh, I'm a bit of a digital dinosaur, or, oh, my carers. You know, these are often minimum wage kind of people, often with English as a second language, often haven't done a lot of using tech in their lives, can sometimes be older, or our carers are quite digital dinosaur-like. So we thought, look, let's create a little digital dinosaur, because our software is so easy to use, even a digital dinosaur can cope with it. So Clive is there to let you leave piles of paper in the past, leave old systems in the past, and come and use a really easy to use software system like CareLineLive. So that's an example of a pretty integrated campaign that's going across advertising, email marketing. We have the Clives available at events. If they book a demo with us, they get a Clive. We've written a whole backstory on Clive. So if you find the Clive page on our website, you'll find Clive's Meet the Team interview, which is quite funny. And, you know, we've got masses of stuff that we can do, you know, with him on social media. There's a reel going out today where Clive's been visiting around the country. He's hanging out of a car window, etc., etc. And it's been really clever. It's worked well. I mean, we're following in tried and tested footsteps of meerkats and all the rest, but it's really chiming with our industry. So other campaign things we've had is we've picked up the "We Are Humans" thing a lot. You know, we answer the phone, you'll talk to a real individual. You're not going to just have a chat bot that you're dealing with. We know that you're people caring for people. Yes, we're a technology provider, but we are people behind all of that, and we are human. And we pushed that Trustpilot score. You know, we're the only excellent rated Trustpilot home care software company in the country. So there's a bunch of other bits and pieces on there. We've done some nice professional video work in the last year where we interviewed and filmed one of our customers at work. So one of those is the day in the life of video. So you can have a look at some of those on the website. When I started at CareLineLive, there was me, and I worked 3 days a week at the time. And there was not a huge amount going on in terms of marketing. So that has grown in 4 years to a team of 4 or 5 people plus ChatGPT, a much bigger budget, and an awful lot more tactics. So, you know, I got into that company when I think there were 20 something members of staff at the time. We've grown, classic kind of health tech startup. And I've managed to grow the team and grow what we were doing as marketing by staying there. All right, the next one. So I'm just going to share with you some of the PR coverage we've got. So the person that actually helped me put this webinar on today, yeah, I put the slide deck together, but the person that got the information out to the different universities and colleges was Corinne from Full Story Media, and they are also the agency that is behind getting us this fabulous PR coverage. So this is all to do with majority investment that happened into the business recently. It's one of the reasons we're able to have grown and had bigger marketing budgets. But also what Full Story Media have done for us is they've taken the story of our CEO, who spent a lot of his childhood in a wheelchair. He has something called mini-core myopathy, so he has some disability issues, and he has grown this business in spite of his disability. And we have used that story as a hook to get coverage. So we've had coverage in the Times, in Entrepreneur magazine, in all sorts of others. We also were interviewed for ITV News because we were talking about how we like to support and work with people that are neurodivergent, and we see some of them see that as their superpower. We find that they can work extremely well in some of the roles that we have in the company. So, you know, some slightly different angles to get PR coverage. There's one of the Times interviews. Actually, the other thing, just another little marketing tip here, and this is one of Full Story Media's things, but me as a marketing a photography graduate will say the same thing. Professional photograph, fabulous colours. You know, he's wearing a really bright suit. We went out into London and found this lovely image, this colour behind these lights, which actually tie in with our care circle concepts as well. And for the sake of a few £100s of a professional photographer for the day, we got some cracking pictures, which are utterly crucial to getting decent media coverage. And that's the ITV News piece. That's Entrepreneur magazine, really nice little title there, From Caregiver to Codebreaker. And then one of our members of staff, we have her as kind of our mental health champion. She has OCD, so she talked about her OCD for an interview in Business Cloud and a number of other publications since. Okay, so that's it on PR. Let's look at our marketing tech stack. So our website is on WordPress. So yeah, if you've got some experience in WordPress, that's a tick. We do all of our project management, and also our developers run all of their kind of development project management on a program called Jira, which is part of the Atlassian software suite. Confluence is also part of that suite, and that's really our internal wiki, a repository of copy and ideas. Confluence really works for us in the same way that Google Docs would be working for other people. We just prefer the we have to be really careful with security and compliance in the sector we work in, and Confluence ticks those boxes far better than Google Docs would. We use Slack for our internal communications. If you've not come across Slack, it's a little bit like WhatsApp on steroids. I mean, we don't really email each other. Obviously we use email, but if we talk to each other, we're tending to talk on Slack. We're using Office rather than Google. I would say for marketers, PowerPoint skills are crucial. There aren't that many people in the organisation that are that skilled at PowerPoint. So webinars are an important part of our way of working, and you know, an important sales tactic for us. And we normally, as the marketing team, end up having to put the PowerPoint slides together for other people in the organisation because they feel really scared of using PowerPoint, or they kind of just mess the slide deck up and it just looks horrendous, and they're not using the right typeface and the sizes and all of that, or they're using awful clip art or whatever. So PowerPoint skills are super crucial, and I'm sure you'll have in your studies the opportunity to use PowerPoint. So do use it and show that you can. We use Microsoft Teams, so any of our meetings are on Teams rather than Zoom, and we use Teams webinars. So what we're doing today is on Teams. Lots and lots of different tools for using surveys and quizzes. If you go to the Clive page, you'll find a really fun little digital dinosaur quiz there. We're using Typeform for that. Obviously, there are plenty of other quizzes out there. I'm using Camtasia for video editing because it's really simple to use and it's a lot less tricky than Final Cut Pro or the other one that was mentioned, the Adobe one, which I can't remember off the top of my head again because my brain is focusing on something else. But anyway, I'm using Camtasia, but video editing skills, really useful, and it's not that hard. Google Analytics, understanding that, using it as reporting. We are also leaning heavily on some of our agencies for their use of other tools that help with that, for instance, like Looker Studio. Because Google Analytics is kind of tricky to really dig stuff out of nowadays without a third-party tool. Talked about ChatGPT. We use Perplexity a lot for research. We often will want to just, if we're writing a white paper or something, we will want to say where we've got our information from. You know, so we're often asked, for instance, by journalists, you know, what is demand for home care going to look like in the next 10 years in the UK? I don't know, but Perplexity does, and I can find the source material so I can cite that correctly by using Perplexity. It saved us so much time. We do have a designer who is using the Adobe suite of design tools, but we in the team use Canva, often within the templates that he's created for us. So Canva is a good tool for you to have played around with, to have got some ideas from. You could put your CV into Canva, for instance. So Paul, our designer, is using the Adobe suite for more complex design. And for social media, we are using HubSpot for our social media scheduling, but we would probably go natively to Meta and LinkedIn for doing paid social ads. I at the moment, I'm going natively to those for analytics, for insights in how we've done over the month, although we are talking to HubSpot at the moment about using a little bit more of their own in-house attribution because it's very, very powerful. I thought I'd just give you a little bit of insight into Jira, our project management tool, just because, you know, you'll go to an interview and they'll be like, oh, we use project management tool, and you'll be like, oh, what does that look like? Well, this is what it looks like. So every ticket has a key here, and you can see that there's a parent ticket here and then a child ticket there. So you can see, you know, create Instagram post section on Clive landing page, write a thought leadership article for Care Management Matters. You know, I'm managing here an email campaign to do with care brokerage, a bunch of webinars for a sister company of ours, Mass Networks. So these all have to be assigned to me. You can see the status. They've got due dates. I'm terrible at using priorities because I just tend to just get them done, and then I prioritize things for other people. So you can sort of see on a top level how that is looking. These are some of the child items, so some different statuses here. They're done, they're in progress, they're just an idea, they're in review for me to look at. And you can see when they're done, they've got that strike through there. So this is what each of those tickets looks like. So you click on one of those tickets from previous slides, And you'll see that this is a blog piece we need. It's part of our ICP, Ideal Customer Profile campaign. And the topic is to do with how their current software system is not keeping up. So, you know, I need information on 3 main systems from MRA, member of staff of ours, and we've got these sales battle cards. So I need the information from all of that in order that I can then write that article. I've then added in at a later stage, right, here's the first draft. So you can see this is WordPress, it's in WordPress. I've tagged a colleague to create the assets for social media and for the image for the blog. So there's a child ticket for that. And I've asked our SEO agency to look at it for SEO. So she'll create some metadata and that kind of thing for it. So it's not the most detailed descriptive tickets, but mainly it's because it was mainly me that was having to do most of the outputs from that, or I was creating other more detailed tickets. So it's enough for me to remember. Now, I was creating this all in a notebook and just missing things, and it was just driving me insane. We then moved it into a spreadsheet. It was still really a bit chaotic. With a team of 5 people working on this, there's no way we could manage that effectively with a spreadsheet. So a proper project management tool was super useful for us. So we lean a little bit on some of our agencies. So we work with an SEO agency. So this is some of the text tools that they use that we find really useful. SEMrush or Ahrefs are both kind of SEO and keyword research tools. Surfer is another tool. It's worth you kind of Googling that and seeing what it is. Basically, it'll scan through a web page of yours. And so these are the keywords you're going for. This is how you could improve your SEO score on this page. You need to include this, and this content. And this information is based on who else is scoring above you in relation to SEO on Google results. They're also using Looker Studio, so that's sitting kind of alongside Google Analytics for analytics for us. We use a video agency. They're using Final Cut for video editing. So this is when we want a really professional job, but we're not doing ourselves in-house. And in pay-per-click agency, they tend to be using Swedo alongside Google Analytics. But Looker Studio is the other one that an agency is likely to be using. I'm sure there's other tools out there. These are the ones that I am recently familiar with. And then I thought I would just share with you the tech stack that our PR agency uses. Because again, you may want to be moving more into that PR side of things, or you may think, I just want to go into agency land, and these are the kinds of tools that you are likely to be coming across there. So the Cyan database, or I don't actually know how you pronounce this. Is it Cyan or Citizen? Anyway, I don't know, but Cohen uses it. And she's like, yeah, I can look that up on whatever it is, and identify the journalists and their contact details and get your press releases sent out there. So it's expensive. So it's not the sort of thing you're going to, you know, we at CareLineLive would not pay for this ourselves, but our agency, obviously spreading that cost amongst lots of different clients, they are using it. Response Source is another kind of database of sort for journalist requests. So journalists is writing an article about, I don't know, technology transformation in the social care sector. So they'll put a journal request out, and we will pick that up in Response Source. So yeah, we can talk about that. We can give you a spokesperson for that. They're using Google Docs, WordPress again for their websites. For SEO research, Ahrefs, Moz, and Ubersuggest. Using Google Search, Google Tools as a recency check from published articles. Again, using ChatGPT for research and journalists, ideation of campaigns, different wordplay, suggestions for creative photo shoots. So can you see how they're a PR agency? They're not talking about using it for copywriting. They're using it for all sorts of other creative ideas. They use an online thesaurus, using PowerPoint. Press Reader for doing what used to be known as a cutting service, identifying printed articles about clients, watching Twitter, it's X now, isn't it? For journal requests, I guess they may be looking at that on other platforms as well. Google Trends for identifying and tracking trends for campaigns, and Google News for searching and tracking industry stories. Okay, so that's the end of that little section. I haven't got long to go now. So let's come back to you guys as in terms of study. So you're probably well aware of the degrees that are out there: marketing and business, whatever else. And I've aimed this particularly at undergrads, but there's obviously master's level qualifications out there in higher education land as well. Professional qualifications wise, I know the CIM, Trust Institute of Marketing stuff really well because I've taught for them in the past. Anyone that's got their higher level qualification, I know knows their stuff. I know they've got a really, really good academic grounding, and I may be wrong in my assumption here, but I would rather see someone with a CIM postgrad diploma than I would a marketing degree. So even you guys that are doing marketing degrees at the moment, you may well want to be looking at some of these other postgrad professional qualifications once you get into work, in order to just further enhance your academic prowess. It shows good commitment to learning, and it's good for that structured knowledge and credibility. So I'm working with our investors now are a venture capital company. They demand an incredible amount of understanding from me in terms of strategy and kind of go-to-market stuff and a broader picture of business. I would not have that if I hadn't done CIM and a postgrad master's. Digital Marketing Institute, I haven't come across them in recent years, but when I was working with them years and years ago, their stuff was very, very good. And then obviously you've got stuff like Google Digital Garage, HubSpot Academy, LinkedIn Learning. So, do continue to be progressing yourself in there. If any of you have got other suggestions for other, other qualifications that others in marketing might be interested in, do pop it into the chat thread.
And Marie, just one more question here. It was asked earlier, but I think now might be a good time to answer it. This is from Yasmin Ali, who is asking, what is the best way to transition to marketing from a different career or course? My background is in TV production.
Okay, well, people love anyone that's worked in TV. I think I got my first job after I worked in television, my first sort of postgrad job. I was 10 years younger than anyone else that had applied, apparently, and they told me afterwards, well, one, we were really impressed that you got TV on your CV, and two, you just had loads of energy and enthusiasm, and the other people we interviewed just seemed a little bit jaded. One, I think that's a great start for you. I think I'm going to refer to it a little bit more later on, just in terms of getting some actual proper marketing experience under your belts. But, both Natalie and Abby, who are my more recent recruits, who were the people that came in as marketing coordinators but didn't have marketing qualifications, they both had worked, Natalie very much in marketing, but without the qualifications. And Abby had worked in some adjunct industries. She'd actually worked in very much customer facing, but in beauty therapy and other areas before. So I, as an employer, was kind of quite open to that and was able to see some relevant skills that could come across. And I set them a task to do. So they put a piece of social media together for me so I could then test their level of problem solving and creativity. So I'll carry on answering that as we go through. So experience, I think, is standing out over qualifications. This is showing that you are able to apply your knowledge and not just learn it. I mean, I did interview recently someone who she was a slightly older lady. She wasn't a new grad. She was probably in her 30s. And she got so much qualification. She'd done a degree, she'd done her postgrad stuff, she was doing a master's, but she got no real pizzazz and experience about her. I was just like, need to know that you can just do this on the ground, and anything that you can do will give you real examples that you can use for interviews. So obviously some universities, when I was at Manchester Met, they were really good with their undergrads of getting them out in industry and getting actual work experience. And this is, I think, one of the advantages of working with, universities that were previously polytechnics. Their integration with industry is very, very strong. But there's nothing to stop you going out there and trying to find some ideas coming up on that front. So how can you get experience? Well, even short internships can be worth doing. So, you'd be surprised how many small local businesses, as well as the bigger ones, are happy having someone in that can just, do a little bit of slave labour for them for, maybe a day a week, a couple of weeks at a time or whatever. So use your networks, use your parents' networks, use local Facebook groups. Say, look, I'm a marketing undergrad, I'm a marketing grad, I really want to get some experience in. Have you got some stuff I could do for you? I'll do it for free, do it as an intern. I just want to get a little bit of experience of the industry. I'm quite good at websites and social media or whatever. But what have you got for me? And I think you'd be surprised how many opportunities will come your way. You can volunteer for charities, student societies, talk to volunteer at local businesses, maybe do some kind of freelance stuff, whether it's paid or not, building campaigns for friends, businesses, family businesses, do a side little hustle yourself, start a blog, start a YouTube channel, have a TikTok profile yourself, a podcast. That is someone that's entrepreneurial in my mind. That's someone that sounds like a marketer. There are competitions you could do, so you can get grants from Google so this is not even a competition, but if you set up a new Google Ads account, Google will give you a bit of money to get going. I think it's £350. So you could perhaps find a course that you could do some Google advertising for, and that will give you some experience on creating Google Ads. It could be for a local scout hut. It doesn't need to be that professional. And like I say, do offer those services through local Facebook groups. Now, I know you may not even be on Facebook anymore because it's a bit old school, but a lot of people that are running businesses or who are working in local businesses are, and it's worth pushing yourself out there in those Facebook groups. Try and do a little bit of networking on LinkedIn and Twitter. Put yourself out there. I'm looking for an internship. I'm looking for some paid work. I'm looking for some opportunities. Or, I've got the summer holiday ahead. I'd be really open to some really low paid, whatever. Talk to your university career service. Do talk to local small businesses. Talk to local charities. Maybe look at online freelance platforms like Fiverr and Upwork. Go to Chamber of Commerce events. Those there are, oh gosh, what are they called? They're little business networking events, Business Network International, BNI, and you could join a local chapter. You just have to turn up. I think it's normally once a week. They normally do a breakfast or something, and you will be able to network with oodles of local businesses, and you'll be able to have your 5 minutes of standing up and saying, right, I'm so-and-so, my degree's in this, I'm looking for experience, I'm up for doing stuff either as a freelancer or really low cost or as an intern, come and talk to me. They will eat you up, honestly. So that's Business Network International. You could talk to Chamber of Commerce about other opportunities as well. Facebook groups, again, you can see how I'm keen on those. So try and develop skills, for instance, in copywriting. One of the things that John, our journalist that works for Full Story Media, always says is a good headline puts two things together that you don't expect to see. So it's a tricky juxtaposition. Corinne, off the top of my head, I can't remember what any of those are, but if you can think of one of those headlines, can you put it in the chat thread, please? See if you can learn analytics, basic Excel, understand some of those dashboards so you feel a little bit more confident with those. Design skills, basic Canva, perhaps Photoshop, but Canva will get you a long way, and PowerPoint skills. Social media, understand what's going on with that now, understand what the challenges are for engagement, particularly for small businesses that don't have massive network. We're not talking influencer land here, we're talking B2B, and profiles that perhaps don't have a lot of followers. There are a lot of jobs out there in those. You're all going to go and work for Unilever and Coca-Cola or for the big agencies. And understand the importance of presentation and storytelling as part of the communications that you're doing as a marketer. So how can you stand out in applications? Your CV, I would suggest, is 2 pages of max. If mine can be 2 pages, and I'm ancient and I've been going on forever and I've got loads of skills and experience in different jobs, so can yours. Try and make it look like a marketer has written it, and make it very results focused rather than just the qualifications you've got. I would suggest that you make it in, you save it as a PDF rather than a Word doc. I know when I was last shortlisting, I was quite shocked at how many people just sent me a Word doc. I was like, it's just not very professional. Send it to me as a PDF. And you probably will want to be creating on something like Canva rather than Word anyway. Do show a portfolio, so campaign screenshots, reports, posts. You could link to a video show reel, or you could create those as a PowerPoint presentation and then create a little kind of slideshow of that presentation, which you then just pop up onto a YouTube link. So people can see, they've done that. Yeah, they're confident with that social media. That's a clever campaign. Oh, look, they've done a little bit of Google Ads writing. There's a blog post they wrote. Here's some PR coverage they got. Demonstrate that enthusiasm, because side projects really do impress people. And I mean, one of my team members of staff, she has a little side hustle. It's an MLM type thing called Utility Warehouse. She helps people save money on their utility bills. Now, I did not take that as a negative at all in employing her. I was like, that's great. There's going to be lots of overlap in what she learns from sales and marketing from them to add to us. So that was a real positive for me. And I'd say that evidence of creativity and initiative will outperform a long list of courses that you've done. Now, at the weekend, I had my boss, who's MD of a company, and my husband, who's a chair of a number of companies and has been a CEO in the health service and also for a number of private businesses in the health and social care sector. They were all around the dinner table together. And so I asked them, what are you looking for as an employer? Okay, and these were the 3 things they said. They're looking for skills, they're looking for experience, and they're looking for motivation. Look at the lack of qualifications there. So demonstrate you've got the skills, show you've got the experience, and have that energy and pizzazz and motivation about the job that you're going for, about the work that you've done in the past, about the challenges that are ahead. Show your enthusiasm for that. So my top tips, if you're an undergraduate, don't wait for permission to start getting experience and know how, start now. Obviously, you should be able to do some of that as part of your projects that you're working with, but try and put that onto a commercial footing if you can as well. Do build a body of work, doesn't matter how small it is, everyone starts somewhere. Do use the new tools. Don't just skim them, try and get to grips with them a little bit. And I've given you an example of a bunch of tools that I'd be impressed that you'd have understanding of. A lot of jobs aren't advertised, so do network where you can, and use every project that you can to show impact. And my closing thought is experience is proof, creativity is currency, and attitude is everything. So I'm just going to...
We have a few questions as well, Marie.
Yeah, let me put my little thing back here, and then I can look at the questions.
So you've answered a few of them, but there are 1, 2, 3, or 4 that came up. The first one is just a recommendation from Tian about Basecamp as a tool for project management and teamwork.
Yeah.
And then,
actually, one of my team has used Basecamp in the past. It's got that nice Kanban board kind of layout as well, which we do have in Jira. I just didn't show the Kanban. Basecamp is really helpful, but thank you for that. Yeah.
And then a question from Abdallah El Kala, which I think you've answered. Is the master's necessary to progressing in the space?
Yeah, I don't think it is at all. I mean, I'm someone that's got a master's and I've taught a master's, so I'm certainly not anti-masters. But what I would say is that I got loads more out doing my master's, having been in industry for a while, than if I'd gone straight in after, after I'd got my degree. I also say I've taught on masters that are for part-timers, for people that work in the sector, work in industry, and I've taught on masters and MBAs for people that are straight out of having done their undergraduate degree. And the difference in the caliber of the ideas and thought and application in the room was just incredible. You know, the people that are out there in industry know their stuff. Actually, I was having a conversation with a friend this morning, and she was talking about her niece, who's been doing a music degree for the last, I don't know, 3 years or something. And she's talking to her sister, the niece's mother. I am getting there on this story. And she was saying, oh, I had my hair cut yesterday by, she was someone that Freya was kind of at school with. And oh my word, she was so much more mature. She was so much more kind of confident in the world. And you're like, well, that's the difference with having been out there in the world, in a workplace, to having been in a student environment. Now, I'm not knocking student environments, they're great, and they're a necessary place for many of us, but you know, getting out there in the world may well do you more good than doing another qualification. I heard my ex university lecturers that have also employed me aren't going to lynch me for this afterwards, because obviously they sell the courses, but yeah, I would very much recommend getting out there in the world and maybe doing those professional courses alongside a job. So I'm on these questions now, Natalie.
Yeah.
What do you recommend to focus on in the degree of digital marketing? SEO ? I recently posted videos on all platforms and I should stick to it. Look, I think you need to go with what floats your boat. So I probably in retrospect should have done a degree in journalism because I love to write. So the thing that floats my boat is content marketing and repurposing content into different things. So I love to be able to write a nice meaty article, and then, you know, that may turn out as a webinar, it may turn out as a social media post, whatever. So, you know, that's just my own preferences, my particular skills and experience. I'm not brilliant with numbers. So, you know, SEO for me being that much more technical and, you know, needing a little bit more of a technical numerate brain is probably not the right thing for me. So if you're, you know, if you're on that side of things, then SEO may well be the right thing for you. So just see what floats your boat. Oh, right. Making jet fuel from human poo. Thank you very much, Zoe. So that is that having a headline that just is two things that you are not expecting to see together. Thank you. Lovely example. Any newer platforms you recommend we learn about other than the classic Instagram, X, TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook? I'm not that familiar with Threads, Blue Sky, etc., and wonder whether you think it's worth it. I think that's a really good question, Chloe. I would say that Threads and Blue Sky are very similar to X, Twitter. We've got accounts with both. We don't get a lot of traction on them, so we don't post a lot on them. But I think you need to look at the sector that you're applying into, and you need to look at the people that are you're selling to. So I was doing a talk at a home care providers conference recently, and there was some business development support person on before me that was talking about business planning. She had some good stuff to say about business planning and strategy and stuff. And then, oh my word, she started talking about social media, and she basically told them that they needed to do TikTok. And I'm like, no, they don't. None of their prospective customers are going to be on TikTok, or if they are, TikTok, did I just say TikTok? And if they are, they'd be like, what on earth are you spending your resources making TikToks? That's ridiculous. So I counted that. One of the first things I said in my talk, it's like, yeah, you need to decide where your people are. And we've done our research and we know that our potential customers are on LinkedIn, they're on Instagram, and they're on Facebook. So they're the ones that we really focus on. Yasmin, I hope I've come back to you with some of those tips kind of effectively later on because of, you know, the stuff that was on those other slides. Thank you very much, Alison. Oh, look, I'm going to just be really cheeky. Can you grab the Trustpilot link for us, please, Natalie? If you have found this helpful, it would be fabulous if you could write a little review about the webinar on our Trustpilot. Make it really clear that you're reviewing a webinar and you found it helpful or whatever. But we will get so many brownie points internally if we get some more Trustpilot reviews, and it'll help us go up from 4.8 to 4.9. And you are genuinely reviewing something that someone from CareLineLive has done. So, right, Harry, thank you very much for that, Natalie. The Trustpilot review link is there. Reflecting on management software, may it be beneficial to outline to employers how you've personally managed time projects before, i.e. using Notion? Yes, I think it would be, because as an employer that is managing people that are managing, you know, they're spinning lots of plates. That's why I've got my hands in the air, spinning lots of plates. So, you know, if you have found software to be helpful in helping you do that effectively, Natalie and I still, a lot of our personal time, you know, time management is done in our notebooks alongside our project management software. But yes, do talk about that. That's a really, really good point. I think. Oh, thank you very much, Alicia, for noting that I've said Chat CPT instead of Chat GPT. Yeah, good spot. Yeah, there you go. You see, proofreading. There's always something. Let me see if there's anything else. I think we've covered all the questions. So, look, thank you ever so much. Oh, do you think it's useful for Real Trends app to analyze the direction of video improvement? Now, there are many such softwares that look like IQ. Thank you, IQ tax. I have to confess, I don't understand a lot of what that question is because they're platforms. I don't know about Real Trends. I work in the small business to business in health and social care, so I'm not up there with the whizzy bangs. But I think it can, you know, anything that shows that you can assess one platform as being perhaps superior to another could be helpful. If that answers the question, I'm not sure. I'm sorry not to be more au fait with things. If there's nothing else, I'm going to leave you. We will drop you an email with the recording and the slide deck in due course. But thank you very much for your time. Okay, bye-bye then.